when you see a lot of films, and I go to a lot of women's film festivals, often you see films, particularly shorts, that will show women with rashes. And I think rashes really represent something that is being oppressed and wants to get out. And so it manifests through the skin as this raging rash. This film I love because it's not only gory and horrific and bloody and wicked, but there's so much love in it that counterbalances the violence. So for me, it's absolutely a standout film for its human themes in tandem with the horror.
Welcome to the That Screening Podcast. A staple of foundational TV and films for over 3 decades, Toby Poser is a fierce talent, incredible mother, and a powerful female voice, especially within the horror genre as part of the filmmaking family of The Addams. Breaking on to the scene in 2019 with their breakout Fantasia hit, the DIY haunted house tale of grief and vengeance, entitled The Deeper You Dig, Toby and her family bring a personal voice and unique style to each film, including Hellbender, Where the Devil Roams, Hellhole, and more. Joining us in the first of 2 episodes on That Screening, Toby sits across the Zoom landscape, discussing the personal cinema shared with her daughter Zelda, and the lasting film screening at the Angelica Theater in New York City of Julia Ducournau's Raw, here on this episode of the That Screening Podcast. Here on the That Screening Podcast, we welcome the first of 2 of my favorite people that goes back now. Toby, I don't even know how many years we go back now to Fantasia. It's got to be what, 18?
2019.
19. Oh, my God. Oh, God, it's so long, young lady. Where's the time gone?
Oh, what a beautiful thing, right?
It is a wonderful thing. We welcome one of the heads of the wonderful Hydra from the Addams family. So many amazing films, Miss Toby Poser. Toby, congratulations on all the film accolades, everything that's been going on with you and the family. How are things? How was your holidays?
Oh, man, thanks, Jay. We love you.
Love
You
you.
were the very first people that we talked to when we were just on our maiden voyage with The Deeper You Dig at Fantasia.
Yep.
And it was such a big deal for us. And you were so kind to have jumped on with us. And one who's also a filmmaker and you know so much. So
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate John. I appreciate the girls so much. And it was an incredible experience. It's serendipitous because, we've crossed paths over the year. 2019 was on the festival trail with you guys for The Deeper You Dig all across the globe, which was wonderful. And that's one of the great things about this podcast idea, the That Screening Podcast. It talks about those kind of screenings, those kind of moments, everything in between. And Toby, this one's a little bit different from some of the other ones. What's the lasting screening you're going to talk about for us?
I'm going to talk about Julia Ducournau's Raw, 2016, baby.
2016. I remember seeing that film at Fantastic Fest in a massively packed theater in Austin, Texas. Where did you see it?
Zelda and I saw it at the Angelica Theater, which is like a cool, like art house theater in New York City on the cusp of Greenwich Village and Soho. And we saw it, that would have been 2017 when it came out.
We're going back now a decade almost, folks. And Raw was such a very diverse film, very empowering film. It was a deep, dark core to it, but it was a very human story. You go there as a fan of the film. What did you hear about it first before heading over there with her?
That's the beautiful thing, Jay. It's my favorite thing to do in the world, and I'm going to tell you about it. So Zelda and I were hanging out in New York City. She had grown up there until she was almost 5. And so we were hanging out in the city. She would have been 13 at the time. And I said, Zelda, we're going to do my favorite thing in the world. And she was like, I have to learn something, because we're going to like this art house, art cinema. And I was like, no, promise me. It's so cool. What you do is You walk up to the theater and whatever is playing next, you have to see it. And you can't look up anything about it. You just have to walk in and do it. And she's like, but it looks French. I'm like, I know. And she's like, oh man. So she was hemming and hawing. Jay, we walked in. Now remember, she's 13 years old. We were just kind of beginning our genre filmmaking journey, and we were blown away.
Wow. The film itself has an incredible story of a young woman who is a vegetarian but is confronted by meat, by protein, and from there, without giving too much away, kind of spirals and explodes. Were you a fan, even though it was the next film up, were you a fan of body horror? Were you a fan of French film at the time?
I loved horror, but I wasn't going to cons. I wasn't yet at Fangoria and Rue Morgue like I do now. If something was playing, I was like, oh, I love this. I didn't have a lot of friends who wanted to go with me. In many ways, I still feel like I'm in my teenage years as far as like my journey with really embracing horror, making it and, absorbing it like at this level.
For this screening, I mean, you could have talked about, Toby, so many screenings that you've been involved with the girls, with John, your own work, other festival work, especially starting back from 2019, even before that, because you guys made several dramas even before that. What made this film significant? And when you got to the theater, where did you sit with Z?
I love this question. We sat halfway up on the right. It was a pretty empty theater. I think there were some people looking at us like there's some young kid in there. And, that has never deterred John and me. And I got to tell you, I felt like a pretty cool mom when we left there because Zelda was like, all right, that was awesome. In fact, she had said to me when I asked her about this and I told her about talking to you today, she said, the cool thing about this was we were kind of just starting. She and John and Lulu were making a first genre film called The Hatred, like this beautiful long hour long sort of visual bloody poem. And she said, this is a coming of age story with a lead woman,
Right.
lots of blood and heart and discovery of identities, and we were falling in love with genre film. And she said, so metaphorically this film is really important. Obviously it's influenced movies like ours, like Hellbender.
So this is a movie that influenced both of you. As you're sitting there, the lights go down, you're watching it. What's the thoughts as the screening's going on? Is there anything in particular, Toby, that really stuck out to both of you? Any scenes that stuck out? Anything that went through your mind in time at that theater?
Yeah, I know for Zelda it was the music, like all the kids, they're pretty young teens, late teens at this veterinarian school. And it's pretty like abrasive and bold. There's a lot of sax. And so there are these great like thumping kind of house music scenes. Zelda was really affected by those, she said, the most. For me, I loved the scenes with particularly the very end of the film, when you realize this is a love story too, a really strange kind of fucked up love story. And so for me, of course, it's those family elements and the concept of legacy and whether you embrace it or how do you embrace it if it's troublesome, dark legacies. That's what really left an impression upon me. And of course, when she sticks her hand in the cow's asshole.
For the folks who have not seen it, there's light spoilers with this one because this is a film I remember sitting all the way at the top of one of the big theaters in Austin, Texas at Fantastic Fest, against the wall, all the way against the theater. And it was not even standing room only for this particular film because now you see a lot of her work now, the director's work, where it really is crossing that lines of what body horror is, what the female experience is, the coming of age stuff. Do you remember, Toby, the crowd and how they reacted? Was there any sort of interaction with it or was it just a silence? Where did it fall with that in the theater?
I mean, we both remember that some people walked out. It obviously was just not their cup of tea. It was ours. In fact, I can remember looking at her and she looking at me and she starts, can I spoil it a little bit?
Yeah,
Can
go
I tell?
ahead. It's been out a
She
long
starts,
time.
her sister's kind of waxing her pubic hair and then, the finger gets chopped off and then the sister passes out from the blood. And then Justine, our young protagonist, starts eating the finger. And Zelda looked at me and I thought, uh-oh, is this too far? And she was like, this fucking awesome. Meanwhile, people were walking out, but not us.
And I remember it with Audition at the Ithaca Fantastic, how people walked out. That's why horror is such a niche art when it comes to it. It has to be able to convince you of something that's not real. It has to generate those feelings for it. Talked about Hellbender a little bit. Did this influence you at all, or is this one of the films that you can point to that helped to influence what the style of what the Addams Family is? Because you're very DIY, you're very emotional, you have a core at the heart of your films that really goes ahead and takes people on a journey that feels authentic and genuine. Any impact from that film on your work?
Absolutely. The thing that I love about Julia Ducournau is she plays by her own rules. She is an extremely courageous, bold, challenging director. And I mean, challenging in that she will challenge your perceptions of how things should be. And she doesn't care, including like Titan, especially, she really doesn't care whether you like where she's going or if someone wants to have sex with the car. She's like, this is my story and I'm doing it. And she will do it well. Even as a woman director, I listened to interviews with her and she says, I look forward to the day when we don't have to talk about our genders. We're just all equal. I know she's influenced the women in this family very much, but in particular with her courage and boldness and originality. That's something that I think we strive for all the time. And I think of her often.
I hope I have more conversations like this on the That Screening podcast because a lot of times people will talk about screenings where they're a solo and they don't involve their family. And you guys are so special when it comes to that and how you create films and the unity that you have and the creative unity that you have. Did you have a conversation with Z afterwards about this film? Her being younger and you guys going to this film, was there any sort of dialogue afterwards?
In our family, we talk about absolutely everything: sex, drugs, life, death. How do you feel today? Are you happy? You're sad? They're all good. About everything. After this, I remember exactly what we did. We'd eaten popcorn during the movie, and then after we went to get ice cream. There's a really great ice cream down the road on Houston Street, and we just talked about it. We laughed. I think when we were licking our ice cream cones, we were thinking about Justine eating the finger. We talked about sex and being careful because there are sex scenes in it. And I'm always like talking about my kids about, they were having sex, but you have to remember you have to be careful and you should stop to use protection. And sometimes they don't portray that in films. So we talked about all that stuff. It was a great bonding moment. I think we both know it was a bonding moment for us.
Was this one of the most realistic horror genre films that you had seen over the last decade?
Yes, it was because of its themes of coming of age identity. The movie, there are a lot of them. When you see a lot of films, and I go to a lot of women's film festivals, often you see films, particularly shorts, that will show women with rashes. And I think rashes really represent something that is being oppressed and wants to get out. And so it manifests through the skin as this raging rash. This film I love because it's not only gory and horrific and bloody and wicked, but there's so much love in it that counterbalances the violence. So for me, it's absolutely a standout film for its human themes in tandem with the horror.
Is it a reflection on that theater that you went to see it?
Yes. And you know what? In 1994, I was in this really cool, now it's a cult classic, LGBT film called The Incredibly True Adventure of Two Girls in Love. And it played
Yes.
there for 4 months. And that was a very, very, very big deal for me as a young actor in New York City, and particularly a delightful film like that. And it played at the Angelica. So for me, that connection is everything. And I love the Angelica. I've had a lot of beautiful moments alone there or with friends.
Was there anything hearing about it previously? Anything that really stuck out to you? Because 2016, internet is rising up.
No, I had known absolutely nothing about this film. Zero zilch.
Fair enough. For you, why is this screening lasted?
Lasted because of that bonding moment with my daughter and the discovery of a filmmaker that I'm kind of obsessed with. I mean, when Titan came out, couldn't wait to see it. I love that film. And then I even saw her newest Alpha. We went to a film festival in Copenhagen called Bloody Weekend. I went to see it. It's in French, obviously, and they didn't have English subtitles. So my French isn't that great, but I managed to follow it a lot. So that's how much I love her. I was like, I got to see it on the big screen.
Is this for you? I'm going to say top five screening in your time in New York City.
This is in my top five for sure. It's definitely in my top two
Fair
in New
enough.
York.
Do you want to say them?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Go
So
ahead.
So Raw is number one. Number two is Valhalla Rising, which I watched the same way, but by myself. I walked into the IFC Center on 6th Avenue of the Americas in Greenwich Village, this tiny little theater. I was the only one there, and I saw Valhalla Rising, and it had the equally like seismic effect for me. And I became a Mads Mikkelsen fan, and I love Nicholas Winding Refn. I'm not saying his name right. Okay, the third one was another horror film that I went to see, The Descent, with my best friend, and I didn't know that she was not a horror fan. I had no idea that people were not horror fans. I just thought everybody loved horror. It's like, why wouldn't you just want to go in? And whenever I could see one, I was like, yeah, I would never say no. And we were watching The Descent, and she was traumatized. And afterwards, she stuck through it. And afterwards, she said, I hate you.
I just watched the commentary for that one with Neil Marshall. It's such a fantastic film. You have a thriller, you've got horror elements, you've got creatures, but more importantly, you have that tension between the group of women that go down there and beautiful psychological horror. Final question for you, Toby. Thank you so much for being on the That Screening podcast. What's one word to describe this screening and why?
Life shattering. With that, there's a little hyphen in there to make it one word. Life shattering, because it really did. It challenged me to continue in this vein of genre filmmaking that I was just poised to discover, and it encouraged me. I just loved it so much, and it was something that Zelda and I will never forget. So it was really life shattering.
Thank you so much for listening to the That Screening podcast with JK, heard on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and more. Find That Screening podcast on social media platforms such as Instagram and Facebook, along with the official website for JK on Wix.com. Make sure to like us, share new episodes, rate us, and listen in to all the content coming from Horror Happens Radio Presents.